Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly episodes where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games, not necessarily in that order. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Thank you for joining us today on this Media Boat podcast. Today is October the 1st, 2024, and this is episode 455.
Yes, we're into this home stretch here. We're
Mhm.
into Q4, and we're into this podcast because
Yeah,
what we want to talk about is at the very end. So if you want
we'll
to
get
skip to
there.
that, go on ahead. But we're going to start right into this with the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is a bar song, Tipsy by
Still,
Shabuzi. Coming in at two, I Had Some Help by Post Malone, featuring Morgan Wallen. Coming in at three, Song of the Summer, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. At four, Good Luck, Babe by Chapel Roan. And rounding out your top five, Die with a Smile by Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga, who we'll talk about in a minute here.
same top five. Nothing changed.
As for your Billboard 200, at number one, Mixtape, Pluto by Future. Coming at two, The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess by Chapel Roan. At three, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. Coming in at four, F1 Trillion by Post Malone. And then rounding out your top five, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen.
So yeah, your big changes this week. Mixtape Pluto dethrones Travis Scott this week at number one, debuting. And then Rise and Fall of Midwest Princess swapped with Short and Sweet. It's peaked now at number two on the 200. Who knows if she can get a number one album for an album that's a year old?
And who knows if she can handle the fame of a number one album.
We're not, no, there's a reason why that's not the news story this week.
You're
People are
right, but
being
we'll get there.
ridiculous.
We will get there. But first, if you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases,
Mhm.
starting with Synthesizer by A Place to Bury Strangers, With You in Spirit by Balance, and Composure, Honey by Caribou. That sounds delicious. Either like honey caribou or just honey by itself, or
Don't eat
caribou
the
by itself,
don't eat the caribou.
unless it's served to you. We also have Moon Music by Coldplay. Yes, that Coldplay.
Mhm.
Prude, in all caps, by Drug Church. For Crying Out Loud by Phineas of Billie Eilish.
Yeah, brother of Billie Eilish.
Yep. We also have, okay, this is a mouthful of a title here.
Okay.
All right, it's titled No Title as of 13 February 2024. 28,340 dead by Godspeed You, Black Emperor.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a threat or if it's leaving like, or it's referencing some sort of statistic. I have no idea.
Well, the 13th of February already passed, so I'm going to assume this is now a part of an ARG.
I- who knows?
We also have See You at the Maypole by Half Wife, Leon by Leon Bridges. Yes, that Leon Bridges. Cutouts by The Smile, Dulling the Horns by Wild Pink, and lastly, Fragments of Us by Midland. No,
Hmm.
we talked about Midland last week, and that was called Blues Early or Baby Blues. So, what is this album?
I don't know. Maybe it's maybe it's a full album. You said that last one was a little short.
Yeah, I mean, why put out a short album than another album? Whatever the case, I will be listening to this then. I assume you're going to be listening to Coldplay.
No, I will not be doing that.
Oh, that's right. You got to listen to Phineas or Godspeed You, Black Emperor.
Or none of the above, maybe.
All right, let's get into the music news. And as we always do this time of year on October 1st, we wake up Green Day now that
Yeah.
September has ended.
Well, they're already awake, apparently, and they're making music news this week.
I guess so, because Billy Joe Armstrong sparked uproar during a Green Day concert in San Francisco when the frontman took aim at the MLB team, Oakland A. Okay, no longer Oakland, just
Mhm.
A's, the Athletics.
And to be fair, the leadership of the A's, not the players, because they didn't do anything.
Correct. An Oakland native himself, Armstrong criticized the team's owner, John Fisher, and his decision to move the team to Las Vegas. Quote, "We don't take shit from people like fucking John Fisher. I hate Las Vegas." Close quote. Adding that Las Vegas is the worst shithole in America. His words, not mine. Well, in response, a pair of local radio stations in Las Vegas stood in solidarity for their city and publicly condemned Armstrong and Green Day. Comp 92.3 in Vegas declared no more Green Day on Instagram, adding they had, quote, pulled any and all Green Day from its rotating playlist. Uh, in the post, it said, "It's not us, Billy. It's you. Hashtag Vegas forever." And then, of course, the post included a silly photograph of the team with the big red X no plastered on it. Although, they missed the mark there with they could just gone with the easy stay asleep Green Day. We will never wake you up.
Yeah, this is a weird story. I think it is kind of capturing a moment, though, because Billy Joe Armstrong is far from the only person who is very angry about the change to the Oakland A's. It's sad what's happened with that team. It's disappointing. And the owner clearly does not care about the fans or the city of Oakland. And so, yeah, I get why somebody who is a Bay Area native would be upset about this and would make a statement like this. Now, would I go ahead and make a statement saying the entire city, like an entire population of a major metropolitan area, is a shithole? Probably not. I wouldn't do that personally. But I don't get why people are surprised that Billy Joe Armstrong did that. I mean, it's kind of been his whole thing since the 90s when Green Day started. He's a punk guy with a punk spirit. He's going to say acerbic, stuff like this to rile people up. That's just who he is. So not super surprising. And I think the Las Vegas radio stations are being a little silly about this.
Yeah, but I think they're also playing into it because it
Yeah.
is the hot news. Oakland is no longer have a baseball team
Yeah.
as of basically yesterday.
Yeah, basically.
Um, so they're playing into it. Although if Tom Hanks came out and said, "I hate Las Vegas," you might get some people like, I don't know, throwing their copies of Splash out the window.
No, but those are the ones where you can see the butt.
Oh, that's right. Wait, no, you can see the button Forrest Gump, right? Oh no, that's Jenny's butt. That's right. I forget
how
which
many
one is.
how many Tom Hanks movies can you see the butt? Yeah.
uh I don't know. At least in Castaway. I know that for sure.
You can probably see his butt in Castaway. You're probably right.
Yes.
Anyways, when you
As it
talk
gets
about
blurry, as it gets out of focus.
we're not talking about Tom Hanks's butt. Let's keep going. You listen to a record.
Hey, you listen to a record.
No, I didn't. I
Oh,
did not. I did not. I did not have time. I was too busy watching baseball playoffs today to remember that there was a record this week. So you're gonna have to sell me or not sell me on the thing you listened to this week, which was
Lady Gaga, as she's in the new movie Joker, Folie à Deux,
yeah,
coming out this weekend. And
yes.
as a companion piece, she's put out an album titled Harlequin. after
No.
her character in the movie.
Right.
So supposedly this album is supposed to be about like her journey, her inspiration, and a companion piece to the Harlequin character in the film.
Sure.
That's what's supposed to be.
Okay.
What I heard and what I got from it is that Lady Gaga really, really, really absolutely adores old classical music and classical musicals and wanted to do her own rendition, as a lot of these songs on here are not new songs.
I
They
mean, we
are
already,
covers.
yeah, we already kind of knew that about Lady Gaga because, the stuff that she has done with Tony Bennett. Also, I want to point everybody to the performance she did for the Olympics this past summer.
Yep.
Like, this seems to be the zone that she's been in since the release of her last proper record, Chromatica, in 2020.
Yeah. So if anyone's expecting new material, new Lady Gaga,
This is not that.
that's not what this is.
No.
No, this is her firmly in the I love classical music era genre. I am inspired by it.
I'm gonna push back on your use of classical here. I know what you mean, but that's not
Yes,
what we're
there's an
talking about.
actual like classical genre of music
Like, no, this
titled
is
as
not
classical. No, this is just oldies. Actually, no, because oldies is its
older.
own genre.
While you're figuring out what word is, yeah, I know what kind of thing you're talking about, and this is like jazz standards,
Yes,
like the American songbook, if you will, like the kind of thing that Tony Bennett was doing his entire career.
was
Yeah,
yes.
I had to remember that happened. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a lot of that. Like get happy. Oh, when the Saints go marching in.
sure.
Um, that's entertainment. And good morning.
So yeah, a mix of standards and musical theater, like you said.
Yeah, there are a couple of I feel like new songs,
Mhm.
like the title track Joker and Smile. But outside of those, it's a lot of these old classic hits
Mhm.
done in Lady Gaga's more contemporary style, but
Well, I
not
think
like
you
Chromatica contemporary though.
right. I think you did it. I think you convinced me. I do not need to listen to this
You do not need to listen to this record.
record. Cool, crossing it off the list.
Yep. All right. Lynn, since you didn't listen to anything, let's go into video games where we start with
Yes.
new releases. And it's the time of the year again. It's hockey season,
Yep.
and hockey was on TV yesterday, and it flat out reminded me with a big ass ad saying, "Hey, you like the game? Well, if it's in the game, it's in the game." NHL
No,
25.
no, no. This is not the EA game, is it? Oh, wait, no,
Yes,
it is.
yes, it is.
That's right.
NHL 25 for the PS5 and Xbox Series X comes out this week.
Yep.
We also have SpongeBob SquarePants, the Patrick Star game
Hmm.
for everything, wide release. You got it. You can play it. It's a sandbox Patrick Star adventure.
Huh. That sounds okay. I've always wanted to play as Patrick.
I mean, you could always watch the Patrick Star show
That's true. If you
on
have Paramount
Paramount
Plus,
Plus.
so no one's seen it. It may not
There's also
exist.
Sword Art Online, Fractured Daydream for everything, wide release.
Sure.
There's also Until Dawn, the 2024 remake for the PC and PS5. And lastly, Mech Warrior 5, Clans for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
So here's the question. It's spooky season. Are you going to replay Until Dawn, whether in its original incarnation or in this remake?
I don't know, because there's a lot of those like dark picture anthology games out there
Yeah,
that I could dip into one of those instead.
that's true.
Or, just play the game that everyone's playing right now, which is Dead by Daylight, for
You
some reason.
don't do that.
Oh no, no, I'm not gonna play it. I might just watch someone else play it for about 5 minutes, probably, maybe.
Fair enough.
I don't know, until I hit bingo or whatever.
But maybe you couldn't play video games this week.
Oh, I tried to play video games last night. I was
Huh?
planning on streaming last night.
How'd that go?
Uh, I couldn't. because there was a PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 console outage where users were unable to play online games. Well, you can now, but last
Sure.
night you couldn't. During the outage, players couldn't even sign in to PlayStation Network, play multiplayer games, or play any single player games that needed to connect and sign you in online first. Offline games, which we heavily endorse here, were seemingly unaffected.
So you could play all the Astrobot you wanted.
Oh, I did. Actually, I went in and played Plucky Squire because I was trying to get
Okay.
platinum. It was like 2 trophies away.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was also unaffected because it was single player downloaded offline game. So the message on PlayStation currently reads, quote, you might have difficulty launching games, apps, or network features. We're working to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience. Close quote. The overall outage lasted around 8 hours and impacted effectively every PlayStation system across the PS Vita, the PS4, PS5, PS3, web usage, and even the PlayStation app usages as well.
Wow.
While the problem seems largely resolved, some gamers were still posting on social media about issues with communications and connectivity features. This outage, however, is significantly shorter than the 25-day long outage from 2011.
Yeah, we were there. We lived it. We couldn't play our PS3s online for a whole month, practically, but we got a free game from it.
Yeah, yeah, one of three free games for you to choose from it.
This time, though, no free games. They've resolved it pretty quickly. It seems like it's not as severe, which is good. So yeah, just a minor bump in the road, and just a reminder that as long as games require internet connections like this, you're going to experience this sometimes. You're just not going to be able to play the game that you spent 60, God forbid, $70 on sometimes because the servers just might be out. You just might be out of luck. You just have to, this is just one of the things we have to take on the chin in the digital era.
Do we? Because we'll get to a story later about digital online purchasing.
Well, what are you going to do?
I mean, you're going to do what we do best here, which is advocate for physical media.
Yes, but with, that not being available, sometimes you're cornered and you can't choose either, which is
Right.
even
If
worse.
you purchase a digital only console.
Yeah. Or if you want to watch a cartoon series on Max and then all of a sudden this week they take away all of them for some reason.
Oh, you mean the ones on Disney Plus as well?
Oh
What,
yeah, that's happening too.
where'd that go?
We don't have time today, but
That's not
yes,
even that's even the TV news. It's bigger news.
recurring issue.
Recurring news. Yes, recurring issue.
Yep.
All right.
But thank God
Well,
there's sports to save us from that, right?
yeah. Well, because I watched Monday Night Football, then I played and
Exactly.
finished. I completed the Plucky Squire. It is 10 chapters. It is really short. I am too. I don't know if I'm gonna get the platinum though,
Okay.
because there's a glitch in it.
Hmm.
In order to get the last two trophies, I have to do essentially a perfect run of
Hmm.
collecting all the collectibles. Because if I go back into chapter select, what I collect does not save going forward.
Oh, that sucks.
So in order to get to the last two trophies, I have to complete the game essentially again in order to get to the very end, which has the final like paid scroll for it for
Okay.
the art trophy. I'm like, do I really want to go through this again? Especially since I can't skip cutscenes, can't skip dialogue, and everywhere I go, like I can speed through it pretty quickly, but I can't really do it that quickly because I have to
Hmm.
collect all of the light bulbs, essentially your currency in the game, to
Sure.
have enough to pay for everything going forward.
That's unfortunate.
So I may or may not actually end up platinum the game, but I got 75% of the way done with it, 80%
Okay.
of the way
Yeah.
done with it. Just two trophies shy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. But I couldn't do what I wanted to do, which was play Madden, because that was online connection.
Right. While we're in the playing section, I just want to briefly mention a game that I almost played.
Almost. Like, how close did you get to playing? Almost playing it.
So, I got to install it on my phone and I played like 10 minutes of it before it crashed, and then I haven't gone back to it since. Um, Indie hit of the year, Balatro, the poker themed roguelike,
Oh, I
has
saw this.
finally gotten a mobile release and it's on Apple Arcade. So I downloaded it this week and decided to give it a shot. But this was on day one, so I'm assuming that maybe they're still ironing out some of the glitches. But I was playing, and when an incoming call came in, the entire game just completely crashed and froze on me in the middle of the tutorial.
Oh, it said, I don't know what you want to do. Take the call or keep playing.
Right. And so it just blacked out and I just couldn't play it. So, yeah, I'll go back to it eventually. I might actually wait until I get my new phone. By the way, I'm gonna get a new phone soon.
Mm,
But yeah, might wait just to see because maybe it'll run a little better. Maybe it's the phone. Who knows? There's a lot of factors.
yeah.
But yeah, I really want to give it a shot because a lot of people talked really glowingly about this game, like game of the year competitor glowing. And so I want to be able to play it before we start doing lists at the end of the year, just in case it might sneak onto mine. So yeah, I'll
Tell
report
me
back
how it
soon.
is from Apple
Yeah,
Arcade because I saw it on the Google Play Store as well for like $14. I'm like,
right.
maybe. And seeing as you said that it crashed when you first
Yeah.
played it, like, maybe I want to wait a little bit.
Because I was gonna say if you still have your iPad, I don't know if it's compatible, but you do have Apple Arcade through my family plan.
Yeah, I know. It's my iPad needs a
Yeah.
charge.
Yeah, don't they all? Everyone
Yes.
listening is probably saying, "Wow, I bet my iPad needs a charge too." They're just perpetually uncharged somewhere on some
Yeah.
shelf. All iPads do.
This is your reminder that yes, you probably
Yes,
do own an iPad.
you should charge it.
Check your closet.
A nice ebook machine, you know. Anyway, but yeah, so I'll report back possibly after a new phone. I'm going back and forth about one if I want the 16 Pro or just the 16, and whether because it's only $100 difference. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, and then also whether I'm going to go uh through my service provider or whether I'm going to spend my Chase reward points on it. So I'm kind of weighing my opportunities right now. So soon I will determine. But I'm getting a phone no matter what.
Well, you and Doctor are in the same boat.
Yeah. Okay.
We're thinking of just buying it outright so that we don't have to
Yeah.
change our plan. Because if we go through our service provider, they will force us to
Ugh.
upgrade our plan to the current one of whatever it is.
Y'all gotta swap to Spectrum Mobile. I'm telling
Technically,
you. I'm
this
telling
is
you.
a technically this is a Spectrum Mobile.
And but for both of them, if you add a line, there I don't know if they're still doing this, but for a while they had a promotion where if you add a line, it was free. So,
Maybe. I don't know.
just tossing that out there. Not, I don't work for Spectrum. I swear.
Yes, I know. You just piggyback off of their service. I'm sorry, off of Verizon service.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
All right.
anyway,
Anyways, yeah,
it's video games.
that's video games. Played some games. We're gonna keep playing some games, and we're gonna keep playing sports games as we get into television and the sports corner.
Yeah, I've been watching some games, so let's talk about them.
Yeah. Uh, NASCAR playoffs still happening. They're in round two of the quarterfinals. Well, no one has been eliminated again yet.
Yeah.
So let's get NFL out of the way here before we get
Yeah.
into the meat of what's been happening this past
Let's
weekend.
talk about how I had a very successful pick'em week
Oh
and
yeah, you
I
did, didn't you?
was ahead of you for a little bit. I might still actually be 1 point ahead of you
You might be
overall.
one. I don't
Yeah.
know, look that up, but yeah, you were doing pretty good at the pickums,
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah. I did
in
pretty
our
well.
Ramley league,
Turns
but
out
not as
50-50
good as
odds
the
are pretty
Kansas
good.
City. Not as good as the Kansas City Chiefs and the Minnesota
Yes.
Vikings, as they are the last two undefeated teams in the NFL.
Yeah. Which
Uh,
means only a matter of time until they lose.
well, yeah, I mean, or not, because they're in two separate divisions. They don't play each other.
Yeah.
So you could, as of week four here, There's still a possibility of two undefeated teams reaching the Super Bowl.
There's always a possibility. Whether that actually happens or not is less likely.
Let's see here. You beat me by 1 point.
Yep.
You actually got silver. You got second place in the pool this week.
You'll have to see it.
You know what's better than second place? Last place, which is where the Jaguars are. They are the last winless team.
Damn.
Sorry, Trevor Lawrence. You've yet to experience a win this year. But someone had a really, really super amazing good game last night
Yeah.
for the Detroit Lions. Jared Goff.
Oh, the Goffens.
Yes, the Goffens. Taylor Swift's Goffens. Uh, threw himself a perfect game. That's right. A quarterback pitched a perfect game in the NFL.
Yeah,
It
I'm
does happen.
confused. What does this mean? Because I know what it means in baseball. What does this mean in football?
It means he went 18 attempts
Ah,
and completed 18 of those passes for
okay.
292 yards and two touchdowns, basically exceeding the theoretical limit of what a football player can do for quarterback rating.
Wow.
Because even if you go 18 for 18 in your QBR, it still says like the extra you get is like 75% or
Mhm.
like 80%. So he went above that threshold,
So
even
has
though
this
they
ever
knocked him
happened
down.
before?
Yes, Kurt Warner threw was the last person to go perfect game, where
Okay.
he went 10 for 10 though,
Mm.
and that was in
So,
2011.
so this is a lot more impressive when you look at the numbers.
It is a very impressive, especially in the fourth quarter when he threw an incomplete pass, but the tight end who was going to catch the pass instead basically punched the DB to create a penalty.
Oof.
So they would have so it would be an incomplete pass. It's a yellow flag.
Uh,
They have to replay the down.
I
He's
guess
like,
so.
he's smart. He knows what he's doing.
What a week for Detroit.
Yeah, they got the win. They're up 3-1.
Mhm.
They're rolling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unlike San Francisco running back CMC, as Christian McCaffrey, who was yet to play it down this year, officially, unofficially, officially, diagnosed with bilateral Achilles tendonitis.
That sounds painful.
It means he has Achilles tendonitis in both of his legs. Not
Yikes.
one, both. They thought it was one. He went to Germany. He got a second opinion. It's in both. They somehow, I assume he knew this. He knew that he couldn't run, and he just led everyone on.
Yeah.
And they do what the essentially does they always do, which is run them into the ground,
Yeah.
quite literally this time. But it does mean looking for a physical therapist. If you know anyone,
Hey, I don't know.
I don't know, but he does play for the Niners, so I don't know if you know anyone that is one up in that area and two cares enough to have CMC on their fantasy team that they want to get better.
I don't know. Does Billy Joe Armstrong care about football and is also knows anything about physical therapy? I don't know. Ask him.
About Achilles tendonitis.
Anyway,
Anyways, yeah, that's the NFL. It continues to run.
it does.
The 72 Dolphins are still waiting, as I said, bated breath for those two last teams to fall.
Yep.
Um, and just a little tip here, starting next week on Tuesday, the NHL puck drops. We have three games on Tuesday: the St. Louis Blues versus the Seattle Kraken, the Boston Bruins versus the National Hockey League Stanley Cup champions, Florida Panthers, and the Chicago Blackhawks versus the inaugural debut of formerly Arizona Coyotes, current Utah Hockey Club.
So this is something that rarely happens. You have the opportunity to be a day one fan. If you watch this game and decide to be a fan of the Utah Hockey Club, you can be. You can say to somebody 20 years in the future, I was there for the first game. I watched the first game. You can do that.
Yes, someone just did that for the first pitch and last pitch of Oakland Stadium.
Well, you know what I mean. It's a
I
little
know.
different, but yes.
But yeah, I mean, the chance to watch a brand new team, especially in hockey, hasn't happened in 2 years since the Seattle Kraken were brought into the
Yes.
league.
Yes, but you know what I mean. It's exciting whenever this happens.
Right, because if before that, you have to go all the way back to 2 years prior
Yeah.
when the Las Vegas Golden Knights were added to the
Okay.
league.
So it's a bad example. Hockey is a bad example because this has happened 3 times in the last 6 years. But any other sport,
Expansion.
like any other
Well, actually,
sport,
technically, Utah was not even expansion because
right? It's
they're
just, yeah,
moving from Arizona.
whatever. You know what I mean. You can get on the ground floor with the merch and everything.
What you mean is you could have an original Utah Hockey Club merchandise before they
Yes.
change their name next year to the Yetis.
So actually, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. Anyway,
All right.
but yes, it'll
Let's
be
get,
interesting to see.
anyways. Yeah. Hockey starts next Tuesday. Just telling you now because
Yeah.
we record on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the actual big sporting event that happened this past weekend.
Yes.
Baseball ended.
Get out of the way of their sports. It's time for baseball to shine. It's October, which means October baseball. We have playoffs, but the playoffs weren't the beginning of the crazy week in sports because it was a crazy last week for the regular season as well.
Yeah. Two teams, after everyone played and all the games ended on Sunday, there were still two games left to be played as they were
Yes.
held over from rain delays.
Yeah.
The Mets and the Braves played a season-ending doubleheader, which they ended up splitting the series and ended up with the exact same record.
Yeah, it just so happened that both of them were actually very important games, and the playoff fates of the Mets and the Braves, and also the Arizona Diamondbacks, held in the air in suspension until these games ended. What ended
Yeah,
up
basically
happening
they didn't know
is
what the seeds were
right.
until that game ended of who was going
So
to play who in the postseason.
So yeah, like you said, the Mets and Braves ended up splitting the doubleheader, which meant that the Arizona Diamondbacks were eliminated, which by the way, that makes this the first season since 2007 in which the prior year's World Series competitors, neither of them made the playoffs in the following year. Yeah.
Wait, so Diamondbacks, did they play the Braves last year though?
No, they played the Rangers and the Rangers won.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right.
remember the Texas Rangers won the World Series last year.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Neither of them made the playoffs, so that means we will not have a repeat. But
Good.
yeah, yeah. So the Mets and Braves both made their spots. And yeah, sorry, Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the best record in the league went to the Los Angeles Moneybags, I mean the Dodgers,
Yeah,
with a 98 and 64 record.
right.
This is significant because it's the first time in 10 years that a team has not reached 100 wins
Yeah,
in MLB
right.
in the
It'll
regular
be a tough
season.
year.
Yeah, tough year, competitive year. We had a couple teams reach the 100 loss record.
Yes, we did.
The Chicago White Sox officially now hold that title as the most losingest team in MLB history with
Yeah.
121 losses. Congratulations. Or not. You are now a trivia question
Yeah,
until someone else does worse next year.
right.
Angels.
We did get worryingly close. That's what I'll say.
We're in close to 100. God.
But yeah, so
Uh,
that wraps up the playoff bracket here. We now know what our playoff teams are, what they look like, and games started today.
yep. And we know who will get those first round buys and get those
Yes.
coveted rest days. Those will be the aforementioned Los Angeles Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies,
Mhm.
as well as the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians.
Yes, correct.
Congratulations. That is one name that I left off here. Thank you,
Yes.
Cleveland. I forgot about that.
Right. Yes, that happened.
Yes. So with the end of the season comes the stat leaders. And none other than Bobby Witt Jr. is
Yep.
your batting leader and hits leader, batting and rather impressive 332 with 211 hits.
Yep.
Chris Sale and Tarek Skubal were your pitching leaders with both the strikeouts and ERA leaders of surprisingly a tie in 18 wins, a tie in ERA average of 2.38, and only three strikeouts separating them at 225 and 228.
Yep.
Who actually gets the Cy Young between them? I don't
It,
know.
it's Scooble. Anyway.
Yeah.
Just say, just asked and answered.
Yes, I know. Just come on, build some suspense.
Sure.
Meanwhile, your home run and RBI leader went to Aaron Judge with 58 home runs and 144 runs batted in.
Never beating the creative player allocations.
Nope. He is forever creative player, Mr. 99 forever. This should be RBI.
Yeah.
And lastly, Ellie De La Cruz is your stolen base leader with 67 stolen bases on the year.
The man just was built to steal bases. That's all he does.
Yeah, that's literally all he does. And that's why he's the leader. Um, yeah, and those are your league stat leaders for every
Wait,
individual column.
no, no, we need to talk about the unicorn in the room.
No, not yet. Because, like as I said, those were your leaders in
Right,
all of
yes.
those uh,
Correct.
categories.
However,
Shohei Ohtani was a leader in only one category,
right.
and that is runs scored with 134 runs.
Yeah. But
But he also batted 310, which placed him fifth on the charts. He also had 54 home runs, which placed him second in the league. He had 130 RBIs, which placed him second in the league. He had 197 hits, which placed him fourth in the league. He had 59 stolen bases, which placed him second in the league. And he had a slugging percentage of 646, which placed him second in the league.
the man is not real.
That's a lot of twos, by the way.
Yeah.
But considering that's one player being second place to six categories where there's a different person in four out of those six categories.
Right. It's impressive.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
he's
yeah.
easily top five player in any position, any
Oh,
stat you want
yeah.
to put. Give him the MVP
Yeah.
award
The MVP
again.
is decided. It's going to be unanimous for Ohtani and Judge. Let's not even talk about it.
So he technically doesn't get the triple crown then,
No,
right?
he doesn't because he did not get
The home
the
run
batting average, I
and the
believe.
batting
He was
average.
still behind. But yeah.
Yeah. But he's still pretty good at
Still
baseball.
it's still not crazy to talk about him in the same breath as the best players of all time.
I know. Like here's all your stat leaders, and then here's Shohei Ohtani right behind every single one of those stat leaders.
And consider that they're talking right now about like the big rumor about Ohtani is that next season, if he still can't pitch, they might put him in like on the field, which
Mm-hmm.
will be crazy because they were talking about it earlier. It's like, yeah, depending on how he does, like he could be like a gold glove competitor. He could even continue to rack up awards that he couldn't even get before just to prove that he can do it.
He needs an entire house just to hold his trophies,
Yeah, he's getting there.
and he can
Anyway.
afford it with the $700 million contract.
But yeah, before we reach the end of the sports section, though, I want to get your playoff picture um, guesses or predictions real quick. So
Dodgers will
today,
falter in the first round.
you're getting ahead of yourself. We have to talk about the wild card stuff, which happened
Uh,
today. So
okay,
first games happened or are happening as I speak. The Mets and the Brewers. Looks like the Mets started hot.
I'm pulling for the Brewers in this one.
Same. We are as well.
I know
I
you
do
are.
I do feel I do like the scrappy OMG Grimace Mets. And they played a good game today. But we'll see.
Yeah, but because they had the double header, I think that's gonna wear them thin in this
I
series.
wonder as it goes on. Um, then the Tigers narrowly beat the Astros today. I hope they can keep it up,
Oh,
but
you know we're
this
in the same boat on that one.
but this game today proved that as good as these Tigers are and as hot as these Tigers are, the Astros are still the Astros, and they can come from behind and will come from behind if given the opportunity. Especially since the Tigers burned their pitcher early, which means that the other two games are up in the air pitching wise.
Yep, yeah, go in the bullpen for it, and
Yeah.
bullpen wins championships.
Yes.
You gotta have aces up and down the
Then
line.
then Kansas City beat Orioles in game one today. I believe in the Orioles here.
I
I
do too.
want
They were
them
the
over.
favorite going into this season.
Yes.
That being said, it means that they're always facing the uphill battle because everyone
Right.
brings it since they were the favorites.
And then tonight, the game that has yet to start or just started is the Braves. And where are they? Are they in San Diego?
Yes, because they also
Yes.
made it. Yeah.
I don't like the Braves. I have medium feelings about the Padres. I'd like the Padres to take this just to see them face the Dodgers again.
I like the Padres Stadium.
You like it's Petco. It's where the pets go.
Yeah. They have a good they have good City
Yes.
Connect uniforms.
Yeah, they do with
So if they
highlighters.
wear those, I'll root for them.
What I will
Otherwise, no.
say, what I will say is I just don't want to see that stupid racist chop in the playoffs more than I need to. So please eliminate the Braves. Thank you.
Nope.
But yeah,
Um,
those are the wild card looks. So yeah, we'll report back next week when we're in the middle of the next step. But yeah,
as for who I would like to see in the World Series,
yeah,
I'd like to see a Brewers Guardians.
interesting. That's what Christie said as well. Christie is pulling for a Brewers
I know she's pulling
Guardians.
for the Brewers, but the
I would
Guardians?
rather see the Phillies personally.
Yes,
I think the Phillies Yankees would be fun. I think it would
could
be
be.
a lot of fireworks, but that depends on if the Yankees can stay together. So I would be okay with the Phillies Guardians as well. But
Uh,
I but we'll see if the Brewers can even last beyond the wild card. Who knows?
out two other options. I would like to see. Actually, there's one other option because they're in those different divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Subway Series again.
Yeah,
Mets Yankees.
if the Mets can stay crazy like they have been
Yeah.
and keep making these entertaining games like yesterday's and today's, then yeah, I could see it. Less
Otherwise,
exciting,
yeah.
I think, because I think
Otherwise,
that
Dodgers Yankees just to see the two number one teams go against each other.
I just would rather
Sounds
not see the Dodgers
boring.
there. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
don't want to see the Dodgers there. I think it's the funniest thing in the world to have Ohtani on the precipice of the World Series and have the rug pulled out from under him. It's very funny to me as an Angels fan. So I hope that
Yes.
that happens.
Right. And as a Dodger hater, it's fun that
Yeah,
happens.
exactly. That's
We're
kind of
not
where
bitter
I'm
at
coming
all.
from with this. So that's why I'm not even talking about them. It's like I hope the Padres end up coming back to LA and embarrass them. I really hope
Right.
that'd be so funny. Just Tatis is just on fire and then they just can't keep up. That'd be great, but we'll see. So we'll talk about it next week as we know our wild card winners.
Yes. All right.
All
So
right.
let's get into TV news.
Yes, let's transition to a place where you might have watched some baseball today, ABC. Well, there's news in the background of ABC and Disney's other property, Hulu, as Disney is reorganizing major parts of its television operations, with the Mouse House set to combine the ABC and Hulu scripted drama and comedy teams. Simran Sethi will be promoted to the role of president of scripted programming of Hulu Originals and ABC Entertainment to run said combined teams. Sethi was most recently named executive vice president of programming and content strategy for ABC Entertainment and Freeform back in 2023 in a previous Disney TV reorganization. In addition, ABC's Signature will cease to operate as a standalone studio and will be folded into 20th Television. According to an individual with knowledge of the situation, I love an individual with knowledge. Approximately 30 Disney employees will be laid off as a result of the moves. Well, now I don't like him anymore. It has been speculated that Disney would combine 20th TV and ABC Signature in the wake of the 21st Century Fox slash Disney merger. Most recently, it was reported that 300 Disney employees across multiple corporate departments were let go in late September. Before that, 140 people were laid off at Disney Television in July, while 175 people were let go from Pixar in May. All of that comes roughly a year after Disney's announced target of the elimination of 7,000 jobs following Bob Iger's surprise return to the company in 2023. So a lot of this we knew was going to happen, but it's kind of slow burning where people are dropping in hundreds every few months.
Yeah, we're not quite at that 7,000 mark
No.
that was previously stated. Just this year, from those numbers, we're looking at roughly 600 people. So a bit under 10%, which means more to come, more
Yeah.
consolidation, as we just saw here. And one thing I am kind of fretting, as we talked about last week in the movie section, where Jennifer Lee stepped down from animation head to run both Frozen 3 and 4, is that the animation department is probably going to be next, especially seeing as all the animated shows on Disney Plus no longer there.
Yeah.
Which means that if you did not catch the season one finale of Haley's on It,
It's
I am
gone.
sorry,
Gone.
it's gone.
Yeah. It's all gone. Thankfully, yeah, we watched it when it was new, but yeah, it's just disappointing. And yeah, the more consolidation that happens, the more likely that is to happen. The more like the fewer choices you have with where you're getting this content. And it's sad. It's really sad. The state of media right now, especially streaming, is just very, very sad.
Yep, sad for consumers. Unless you're in Wall Street, then maybe you're making a good $2 on this news.
Who cares,
Yes.
is what I will say about that. All right. That's it for television news. That was a bummer. Let's move into more bummers, cancellations and renewals, because apparently we have no TV to talk about at the moment.
Nope. So what am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching Unprisoned, which got canceled after second season on Hulu. Hulu also canceled Black Cake after one season. Sci-Fi has canceled Chucky, the television show based on Child's Play, after its third season. Those are cancellations. We also have a lot of deaths this week. This was a brutal week in almost every sector of the entertainment industry. Let's talk first about John Ashton, age 76, was an actor in Beverly Hills Cop. We also had John Amos, age 84, actor from Coming to America, Roots, and Good Times, among other
The
roles.
the dad in Good Times.
Yes. In the world of basketball, we had a rough one. The loss of Dikembe Mutombo, age 58, was, of course, a Hall of Famer. Played for the Denver Nuggets, the Houston Rockets, and the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, one of the most notable basketball players of all time.
Yep. Mr. Wall of Blocks himself.
Yeah.
Instant Hall of Famer when he was being able to be nominated. And yeah, just a defensive machine
Yeah.
in the center.
Yeah. It's a rough one. Equally rough, Chris Christopherson, age 88, musician and actor, was famous for starring in the 70s remake of A Star is Born, as well as Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, but also a figurehead of the outlaw country movement, also in the 70s and 60s, often performed alongside country stars like Willie Nelson. Very well known in the country scene, very prominent songwriter, known for a lot of big country hits. But yeah, he kind of pivoted into acting and was known for that as well. Just a staunch liberal his entire life, was very known for having progressive views and political standings. And so yeah, it's sad to see him go for a lot of reasons. But yeah, he will definitely be missed. But age 88, that was a pretty long life.
Yeah. Not as long as our next one.
Yes, that is true. Just a year older at age 89. We also lost star of stage and screen Dame Maggie Smith. the actress probably most known to younger people as
Professor McGonagall,
McGonagall. Thank you. I was like, what was the character's name? I've erased Harry Potter knowledge from my brain. In the
as
Harry
you
Potter
should.
films, yes, I should. But also recently known for Downton Abbey, where she was a star in the entire run of that series and its accompanying movies. But of course, before that, she was a stage star, was in countless plays and musicals, and yeah, was, as the name implies, a British dame. So yeah,
Knighted by the Queen herself.
correct. So yes, a long storied career. Everybody knows who Maggie Smith is, and yeah, so it's a real rough loss this week.
Yep.
And then lastly, in the world of baseball, we lost an all-time record holder, Pete Rose, age 83. Of course, the MLB all-time hits leader, still played for the Cincinnati Reds, and
And then
is
coached
un-
the Cincinnati
yes, and then
Reds.
coached the Cincinnati Reds, in which he unfortunately became notorious for the rest of his life due to his betting on the game of baseball. Since then, he was locked out unfairly to some, including the Media Vote podcast, from being entered into the Baseball Hall of Fame and has a lifetime ban on anything to do with baseball.
Well, now he has technically
Well, yeah,
served that
he's out of
lifetime
that
ban.
lifetime ban. So the question
Uh,
is now, do you see the chatter about a posthumous entry into the Hall of Fame, or do you think this is the last nail in that coffin?
so two things. One, Pete Rose never bet on games he coached or played in,
Right.
always in other games, so he had no influence on the outcome.
Yes.
Two, MLB is heavily into sports gambling now,
That's true.
and with
Times have changed.
all of the major sporting leagues heavily into DraftKings and FanDuel and all
Right.
those guys.
Yeah.
So the stigma of sports betting, while a player is still looked at as frowned upon, illegal, you
Sure.
will get fined, you will get suspended.
Yeah.
Doing it as a coach, also, while you're part of the team, still illegal. There's signs everywhere that says, do not gamble
Right.
while you are a player. Otani
Or the
or
translator.
Otani's translator.
We have to legally say that.
Yes. But he is still the MLB hits leader.
Yeah.
And to have the person with the most hits until Otani catches him
Right.
as the in the MLB to
Yeah.
not be in the Hall of Fame.
It's honestly kind of embarrassing.
Well, no, it's not embarrassing because Hall of Fame is either see there's two things.
Yeah.
Either the Hall of really, 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 really good baseball players or the Hall of the history of baseball.
Yeah.
And if it's the latter, you can't not include Pete Rose if you're talking
Right.
about the history of baseball.
I think both. He meets both of those criteria.
Yeah, he does.
That's the
He's
thing,
a
is
really,
that
really good baseball player too.
there's no reason not to at this point. And yeah, I that's why I kind of asked the question I did, which is it too late now? Like, are they going to feel like, well, we could have done it, but because he passed, he's not alive to enjoy it or like to be there for it, and so maybe it's too late. Maybe the ship has sailed. Or do you think this is the time to do it to honor his legacy before it's too late?
Well, that's the good thing about being entered into the Hall of Fame. After your time is done, after you get your 10 tries,
Mm,
is that there is a historic baseball committee
yeah,
that can get you into the game, whether it's through posthumously or just in your elderly state. That you
yeah,
missed your window, but we're going to include you now. Same thing I said about when we talked about the steroid era, whenever
right.
the MLB Baseball Hall of Fame comes up, that those players should be in the Hall of Fame. Even if you have to build a separate wing and say,
Yeah,
this is the steroid era,
right,
these are
right,
the
right.
players that were important to the steroid era, and that's why it's here. That you have a plaque on there, something that says that this is a part of MLB history, just like Pete Rose is a
Yeah.
part of MLB history.
I got it.
Should
You
be
just
there.
enter that wing of the Hall of Fame through a giant doorway that looks like an asterisk. Anyway,
Anyways, Even though Pete
Anyway, but
Rose
yeah,
can't do it,
yeah.
are you going to bet that he's going to get in?
Ha ha ha. No. But yeah, anyway, to just wrap that up, yeah, we'll see what happens ultimately. But regardless, he should be celebrated because what he did as a player is celebratory and like
I will
should have
say
be honored.
this: within our lifetime, he will probably get into the Hall of Fame. You just have to wait for all the old sports writers
Right.
to go the Pete Rose way.
Yeah, everybody who was a talking guy, a talking head in Ken Burns' baseball, once they're all gone, except for Bob Costas, because he's good, he can stay. Everybody else, once they're gone, then he's in.
Yes.
Sorry, I love Bob Costas. He's great. Anyway,
Anyways,
let's move on.
yeah,
That's it for sports, which means that, or wait, that I time traveled there because we were talking about Pete Rose. No, that's it for deaths. And we can now move into the last portion of the show, which is the movies section. And we always start the movies with the weekend box office number. And hey, that robot made some money. The Wild Robot was your number one film this week, debuting to $35 million. That passes number two, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, there's two of them, which was at 16 million this week.
mhm.
That is at 250 million total so far. Number three, Transformers 1. I guess enough people still had some interest in it because it made another $9.1 million this week. That's only at 39, though, total domestic, which
I
is
think
real
that's
low.
its third week, second week, third
That
week.
sounds right. Coming in at number four, Devara Part 1 made $5.6 million. And you know it must be bad if you're Transformers 1, if you're just barely beating something called Devara Part 1, which we don't even know what it is.
Nope.
And then rounding out your top five, Halloween movie Speak No Evil, $4.2 million. That's at 28 million. Not doing a great job of ushering in the spooky season. And in case you're wondering how in its debut week, Megalopolis did, well, $4 million was all it made. That's it.
Yeah. But at least all that goes right into Francis Ford Coppola's pocket because he funded it himself.
Is that a good thing though? I'm not sure. I think jury's out on whether that's what's a good thing or not.
Wait, that's going right to his pocket, or
Yeah.
that only made 4 million?
I guess both. Yeah, I don't know. We did not see it, so unfortunately we cannot pass judgment,
No.
but maybe soon. Coming this week, though, everything got out of the way for Joker Folie et Deux, as you referenced earlier. Early reviews aren't stellar, so we'll see how it does.
That first Joker movie did make $1 billion.
It did somehow against all odds, but we'll see.
Yep.
All right, let's move into a quick movie news before we get into the meat of what you've been wanting to talk about today.
Yeah.
We're quickly going to talk about something close to home, very close to home, in the state of California. Gavin Newsom, ahead of the upcoming November election, did a lot of bill signing this past week. And one of them was a law, AB 2426, that combats, quote, disappearing purchases of digital games, movies, music, and ebooks. This legislation will force digital storefronts to tell customers they're just getting a license to use the digital media rather than suggesting they own it. Storefronts will have to tell customers they're getting a license that can be revoked, as well as provide a list of all the restrictions that come along with that. Companies that break the rule could be fined for false advertising. The new law won't apply to stores that offer, quote, permanent offline, unquote, downloads, and comes as a direct response to companies like PlayStation, which recently this year removed Discovery content even after it had been purchased, and Ubisoft removing the game The Crew. Governor Newsom also signed two laws regarding AI in films. The first bill, AB 1836, quote, prohibits the use of a deceased person's voice or likeness in digital replicas without the prior consent of their estate, unquote, according to SAG-AFTRA. The second, AB 2602, quote, prohibits contractual provisions that would allow for the use of a digital replica of an individual's voice or likeness in place of the individual's actual services, unquote, unless the individual gave their consent to a clear, specific description of how the AI would be used. If
AKA the
this,
Darth Vader
Yes,
provision.
correct. If this sounds familiar, it's because both of these laws are extensions of what SAG-AFTRA performers already fought for in the strike last year, which is that actors must have informed consent and compensation for anything that involves the use of AI. But considering those protections apply primarily to theatrical and TV performers working under that specific contract, aka SAG-AFTRA members, the extension of it to protect anyone in California, living or dead, member or non-member, is a big deal and did matter, and which is why this is good that this was passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. So part one of this is what we've always been saying. You don't own the digital content. You're licensing it from the company
Yeah.
for the life of the company. If the company goes under or the company shuts off its servers, you no longer have access to that content. That's now
Right.
made illegal if you don't explicitly state that now.
I would be surprised
Signed
if
into
now it's
law
a little
starting in
pop-up.
January.
Yeah, I want to say probably it'll be a pop-up that happens before you press the checkout. It's going to
Right.
probably be like, this is a digital license, and is it okay? Press okay to continue.
Yes,
So something like that.
probably. Like, yes, that's fine. Okay. And then 5 years later, when the service goes under, people are like, what? But I bought it. I spent money on it.
Yeah.
And be like, what? You checked it or did? So it's just them covering their butts.
Yeah.
But yeah, the second part extends what SAG-AFTRA basically fought for in the
Right.
strike to
Yeah.
everybody within the state of California now. So
Yeah.
if
It's good.
you're, say, not SAG-AFTRA and say part of like the news team or the news cycle, this now covers extended that because
Yeah.
anyone who like knows and like gets interviewed on news cameras or reporters, like they're not technically part of SAG-AFTRA. Now this all covers all that too.
Right. It's good. Ultimately, these two bills are good, or three bills in
Yep.
total are pretty good. He didn't sign everything he should have signed, but that goes beyond the purvey of this podcast.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw those too. But he
yeah,
basically sent it back just because he didn't like the wording, that he wanted it
right.
more strict.
Yeah. But as it stands for the media landscape, these are good moves. And yeah, the more protections we have against AI and the more consumer protections we have against companies pulling content, that's all good news. And
Yep.
it's good baby steps towards a safer digital future.
And
Speaking
it baby
of,
steps for Gavin
yes.
Newsom's eventual presidential run.
Yeah, God, no. Please don't. Please don't make us do that. Let's move on. You did your homework
I did my
and
homework.
you watched not one, but both of the films that I discussed and implored you to view last week.
I had a double feature.
Yes, yes, you did. And so now I unleash you. You're off the chain. You can go in any order you want, talk about whatever you want. Tell me about your experiences.
We'll talk about the order I watched it in, which would be Challengers first.
Okay.
And Sexy Tennis Movie is sexy. And that soundtrack is amazing. I can see why they got hired to do Tron 3 or Tron Ares,
Yeah.
whatever it's called.
So, was this a Mike movie or was this a Mike movie? I told you it was going to be.
Yes, it's a sexy movie. It's an athletic movie. I love the competition between the two leads.
Yeah.
And then Zendaya gets thrown into the mix. I do like where it ended up. I
Yeah.
kind of don't like how they got there at the very end. I think
Sure.
pulling a move essentially 13 years later from when it originally occurred to have your other main character remember it because you as an audience saw it 90 minutes ago. Your characters in the movie saw it 13 years ago. So
See,
little nitpick on that.
I choose to believe that that was so important at the time that it stuck in his mind like he couldn't like unseat it. It was something he would always remember just because of how pissed off he was in that moment.
Well, yeah, also because it's something that he never ever does. So
Yeah,
to everyone in the audience, everyone there at that tennis match sees that happen.
right.
They think, okay, it's just a different
Notable.
serve, but not
They know.
to the other guy.
I thought it worked perfectly. I really liked the
Yes.
ending of this thing.
I like the visual part of the ending where they finally essentially reconciled in the middle of a tennis match, which great camera work, by the way. That was amazing.
Insane, right? Like some of the choices that they make. Like you are the ball at one point, you
Yeah.
are the ground at another point. Like,
Yeah. You're
where will this
through the
camera go?
ground. You can see it, everything.
It's just like the whole time you're thinking, like, oh, there are no limits to
Yeah.
where this movie can be shot. Like,
It
there's
literally
nothing.
broke through the ground.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's literally groundbreaking.
it's crazy. Yeah, I honestly don't know how it works. I mean, kind of, but yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
not important.
It, yeah. It's called different shots and different angles and intersplicing to edit together.
Still impressive.
Oh yeah. But I do like how at the end, like they've like at the like they're at the opposite sides of this entire thing.
Yeah,
And through the very, very awkwardly told story, just because it ping pongs back and forth,
like a tennis match.
like a tennis match, they eventually come together in the middle and they
Yeah.
embrace.
Spoilers. I
Well,
guess we should have probably
spoilers.
said spoilers for Challengers because we spoiled the entire movie now, but it's
Eh,
fine. It's from
well,
April if you guys saw it.
it's from Grateful, but yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they embrace in the most manly way possible, but he also ends up like losing the match because of it because he can't touch the net.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
like, does it?
Well, that's the
But here's
thing
my
is
other
that's what's
here's the other
great.
thing about it.
Yeah.
The other thing about it is that your main character here is three-fourths of the way through a grand slam. He has the awards, he has the money, he has the accolades, but the one thing he doesn't have is a
Hmm.
victory against his friend.
Yep. Hmm.
And that's basically what this movie is. Can I
Right.
beat my friend?
And that's what I think why the ending works for me is because by the ending reminds you almost, it says, what? Did you really think that this was about this match? No, it's not about
Yeah.
tennis. This was never about tennis. It was kind of about tennis, adjacent to tennis, but it wasn't about tennis. The ending reminds the audience like what the movie's actually about, which is these two guys and their rivalry and this person that has manipulated their lives to get to where they are.
It reminds me of For Love of the Game, Kevin Costner,
Mm-hmm.
pitcher. It interspices with him and his journey as a pitcher. So it's never about him completing his final game as a perfect game. It's about everything that he went through and
Yeah.
sacrificed and struggled to get to that final moment.
It's a perfect recipe for a great sports movie is make the human stuff matter about the same or more than the sports stuff because sports stories are human stories. They're always intertwined. Watch any 30 for 30. Like
Yep.
watch any story about sports and it always is a good reminder of like these are never just about the sports. There's so much else happening. And I think that's what's great about Challengers is like I said last week, it treats the non-sport scenes just as dramatically and just as energetically and just as important like and shines just as much of a spotlight as the sports scenes. Everything is kinetic, everything moves, everything has a purpose. It's always there to prove that these things are not necessarily even equally important, but they're both happening and matter just as much as each other.
One scene that puts that into very, very clear highlighting is the scene in the dorm room
Yeah.
because it's
Yes, that's
single
the perfect
take
example.
and it rotates through the entire room because a
Yeah.
full 360 through the whole thing and never skips a cut. And the music
Yeah. Yes.
changes
And
with
also
every single beat on it
I
too.
was going to say, because that's the one time that the music comes in during a non-sports scene. And it's a
Yes.
reminder. It's like, oh shit, tennis is happening right now. Not literally, but figuratively.
Yeah, because to Zendaya's character,
Mm-hmm.
it's
That
always
is the
about
game now.
tennis. It is
That
the
is the
game. It's
game
always
now.
about
Literally,
tennis.
that's how that scene opens, right? As she says,
Yep.
if it's not about tennis, she's
Tennis.
not
Not
interested.
interested.
And that's the whole like framing device for that entire scene.
Yep.
Yep.
A lot of good
Good
notes
stuff.
in this movie, a lot of good uh shots, compositions, a lot of good directorial choices.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see this in the top five at the end of the year.
I could too. Now the impossible pivot going from a movie that is pretty straightforward, pretty crowd pleasing to its polar opposite.
Okay. So you told
I'm
me
ready.
about I Saw the TV Glow.
I'm ready. I'm ready
You gave
for
me a little
your
like
take.
fluff on like what it's about
Yeah.
like the trans experience.
I mean, it is a metaphor.
Metaphor for it.
Yes.
Yes. I started watching a different review about it before it got to spoilers, and like, okay, like here's your spoiler warning. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop right here.
Right.
I have enough of an idea watching it.
Yes.
I did not have enough of an idea what I was watching.
No, this is what I
I
told you
did
last
not.
week is you can have a very basic cursory idea of what this movie is, and then the actual movie just throws that out the window. It's well, go on.
So when you said this, I'm like, okay, I think I get what's going on.
Yeah.
And then we get to the goddamn monologue
Yes.
under the stars
Yes. Hmm.
in the high school. And I'm like,
Yeah.
wait, I
Yes.
understand what's going on here.
Yes.
I'm feeling the kind of the same things because the the character like talks about like feeling lost, feeling lonely, feeling
Mm,
repetitive,
right.
especially in your 20s when you don't know what's going on or what's going to
Yeah.
happen. And it's like, oh, this movie's talking to me and it's talking at me. And it's like saying like those stuff that you're feeling,
Yeah.
yes, you people have those same experiences. People act on them.
Yes.
People act them in different ways,
Yeah.
in very different ways. And how you react to that
Yes.
and how you treat that, it like can pull you in a lot of different directions.
Hmm.
And that monologue goes in a lot of different directions.
Yeah.
But that monologue is key to this whole thing. And
Hmm.
I'm kind of dancing around what it's about because
Yes.
saying it spoils the entire film.
Yeah, it's really hard not to talk about this movie without the big spoiler. But what I will say is, yes, that monologue is the hinge of this entire movie. Is when you get by the time you get there, you're supposed to be at sea. You're supposed to feel like, wait, what is real here? Who is telling the truth? What's actually a fact? Especially with some of there's a handful of scenes right before that scene that
Mhm.
are, I'm pretty sure, supposed to throw you off. They're supposed to tell you, hey, we're going to show you some stuff. We're leaving it to you to decide whether this actually happened or not. And then it
Yeah,
throws you to the monologue. And then it kind
yeah,
of
that whole scene in
establishes,
the bar, just like where
yeah,
they're talking, like laying
right,
the breadcrumbs to
right.
that scene. It's like
Well,
that's when like you start to feel like the edge because it spices
yeah.
with that with the band on stage.
Well, yes. Well, I'm specifically talking about, I'm trying to dodge spoilers here. I'm specifically talking about when your main character watches the finale of the show and the events that
Yes,
immediately happen after that. Was it real? Who
yes.
knows? The movie doesn't want to tell you because the point of that movie is in that monologue. And by the time that monologue ends, you are now fully aware of what's actually happening and you know what kind of movie this is. So, this is why I likened it last week to Get Out.
Hmm.
Because in a similar way, Get Out spends a lot of time setting up, hey, there's maybe some weird supernatural stuff happening, but we're not sure yet, and we're going to ease you into this world. And then something happens in that movie where you immediately realize, oh, actually, oh, that's all real. That's happening. That's actually happening. And this character is actually in danger. And this sucks. And then the
Yeah,
rest of the movie happens.
I had the same kind of feelings when I watched like They Clone Tyrone
Yeah.
and Sorry to Bother You,
Yes.
but in a while those definitely go into the fanatical way
Mm.
and kind of lean into the more sci-fi realm. This one teeters on it so much so that it's up to you, the viewer,
Mm.
of is this real? Is this not? It never actually like shows a full commitment to it.
Yeah.
Much like the main character, Justice Smith, who is fantastic in
Yes.
this thing, by the way,
Right. Yes. Please. Just,
never
I,
fully commits to their own identity throughout the film.
I just cannot believe this is the same Justice Smith that was in the Pokemon
That's what
Detective
I was thinking
Pikachu.
when I saw the end. I was like, oh, it's the Pikachu guy.
The
Yes.
range. But yeah, if anything, yeah, I think that that's what's fascinating about this movie is that by the end of it, even once it all wraps up, and oh boy, does it wrap up in a way that I don't think that is purposefully, I think that is purposefully uncomfortable. It is purposefully leaving you in a zone of, oh shit, okay, I need to think about the last 20 minutes of this thing a little bit longer. It does that on purpose, I think. It's supposed to leave you
Hmm.
in that kind of ennui of like, huh. But yeah, I think you're right. I think you hit the nail on the head, which is that's the point. Which is the point is it's trying to say that monologue that you brought up is like, yeah, it's trying to say it's like you're going everybody gets to that point where they're going to like have some sort of decision that they're going to that they feel like if they made it, that would greatly enhance their life. Like if they were honest with themselves, if they chose self-love, it would unlock possibilities. Especially like you're saying, that kind of early 20s, maybe
Hmm.
teenage zone, depending on who you are. Um, and this is, I think, such a good metaphor for that. So yeah, I think some viewers are going to see the trans experience here. I think there's a lot of intention to show the trans experience, including the very first two scenes of this film are very clear in what
Hmm.
that is supposed to represent. However, but you're right. I think that the nice thing about this film is that the script can be interpreted in other ways. It's not just about the trans experience. It could be any kind of queerness, or it could just be feeling left out or like feeling not yourself yet. Like that self discovery, you're right, is open ended and can be interpreted in multiple ways. So I think that's one of the things is that I think this film is strong enough that it transcends. The message transcends, no pun intended, just being about one thing and is so much about coming of age and figuring yourself out and knowing that it's not the end of the world. It never is. There is literally the message of this film is that one scene that says there is still
There's
time.
still time.
And it matters. Ooh, I just got chills when I said that. That's how powerful that is. And even though it ends in the way that it ends, ultimately, I still think this is a hopeful message.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, at least I would like to think that's a hopeful message because as we've
Yeah.
seen throughout the
Yes.
film, your main character, every time they're faced with looking into themselves,
Yeah.
until they literally have to look into
Right.
themselves,
Yes.
chooses to deny and run away and
Yeah.
not be who they are to themselves
Right.
and want to be whoever the world around them wants them to be.
It does one of the things that the best horror movies does, which is it's a parable. It is a parable.
Mhm.
It's setting up a lot of horror movies don't end well. And that's on purpose. It's because it's supposed to make you think about, oh, well, how did the person get there? Like it's not always about an evil that can't be destroyed. In this case, it's an evil that could have been avoided, possibly, for all we know, but that road was not taken because there were so many questions, just like in real life, about whether or not that threat was real. And then ultimately the movie says the threat was real. But it's up to you in your individual life to determine whether that threat is real and what you want to do about it. And I think it's a powerful message. It's an active message, and I think it's a hopeful message. But I understand how other people are also not getting that message and are very depressed by the end of this film. I see that there's a very polarized
It's
reaction.
I never get depressed by the end of the film, but I did see through my own watching of it that the message can be skewed to a place
Mm,
nobody intended this to go
right.
because they, I'll phrase this as saw the TV glow,
Right. Yes,
and thus
exactly.
that TV glow was what caused them to think this and cross
Sure.
that pink opaqueness.
But this is what I'm talking about is I think that this is what that's it's media literacy 101, right? Which is
Yes.
understanding when there's a metaphor in front of you. It's a metaphor. The media used in this film is a metaphor. It is not to be taken literally. It is not about the show. The show is could be replaced by anything. The show could even be a person. It could in that person's life. It could be a thing they heard once. It could be anything. But the fact that it uses the television show allows it to talk in this visual language, this television language, and is able to why it's able to do such frankly like amazing cinematography choices and effect choices and stuff like there's a lot of cool stuff that happens in this movie because of the metaphor that the director chose.
And that's one of the great thing about having these two films. You have
Yeah.
Challengers, which is more traditional film, a
Yeah.
more sports film, a more kind of Hollywood-esque film that is great directing and great storytelling. But you
Right.
also have I Saw the TV Glow, which is a
Yeah.
more low-budget film, a more
Yes.
personal film, uh,
Yeah.
brought to us by A24, that also is its own in
Right.
its own right a
Yeah.
amazing like films experience.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap up here, which is saying that they're interesting movies in contrast to each other because if they yes, they're super different. But you're right. They both show the strengths of the major studio system and the indie system, which is they both can make great movies that have something to say. I do believe both of these movies have something to say and are very good in communicating that. But the way they do it, they can both be important and they can both be well made. And even if they're doing radically different things storytelling wise and thematically. And so, yeah, I think it's cool that both of these, we were able to watch both of these back to back and get like the full range of what cinema offers.
Yeah, that's the great thing and why we like love movies is
That's
that
why we
you
do
can
this.
get this range of feedback
Yeah.
from two different sources.
Right, and then you have
Um,
Madam Web, which is an example of a really shitty movie. So we've run the whole gamut this year.
yes, yes, we do. But we've run the gamut and time on this podcast.
Yes. So thank you for joining us today on the Media Boat Podcast. We will be back next week for another episode. In the meantime, you can watch us in video form on YouTube. Search Media Boat Podcast, find our channel, like, subscribe, and comment. Also hit the bell for notifications when new videos go live. You can also find us in audio form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Search Media Boat Podcast on those, and you can subscribe to our feed. You can also find us on the internet. MediaBoatPodcast.com is an archive of our stuff. You can also find us on social media platforms like Twitter. MediaBoatCast is our name there. Also, we're on stuff like Facebook and Blue Sky and Twitch.tv. If you search MediaBoat on any of those things, you'll find us. And last but not least, if you have questions, comments, feedback about the show, you can email us at mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. We will read those emails here on the show, so email away. All right, that'll do it for this week. We'll report back next week with more news, more thoughts, update about playoff baseball, and whatever else we got in the pipe. So check it out.
More of us.
Yes.
Okay, bye.
All right.